Okay, 7th graders, so today we are going to continue on classifying polygons and talking about congruent polygons. So, what is a polygon again? Remember, a polygon is a closed figure formed by 3 or more line segments. And these line segments are called the sides. So this is a polygon. So I have some line segments here. And I made a trapezoid. It's a polygon. If I make some line segments, I made a pentagon. That's a polygon. Anything that has line segments and sides that are closed, so a square, a rectangle, anything like that, that is considered a polygon. What's not considered a polygon would be something like this, where it has a side that doesn't close all the way. So that's not a polygon. So another shape to think about would be something that is like a trapezoid and then a triangle. That's not a polygon. Okay, and then anything with a curved edge. So I have a straight line here, I have a straight line here, but I have a dome for a top. That's not a polygon. Okay, so now that we know the difference between a polygon and what's not a polygon, we're going to go through and we're going to classify by names. If you guys thought our names for our triangles were crazy, well, we're going to start talking about some crazy polygon names. So any shape that has 3 sides that's enclosed, like up above, this is called a triangle, obviously. That's nothing new. We know what a triangle is. Well, anything with 4 sides, so this is all of that family tree that we made the previous day. These are quadrilaterals, remember, because quad means 4. So we have a quadrilateral. Our 5-sided shapes are our pentagons. And this is like the Pentagon that's in Washington, D.C. That's how I remember that. A 6-sided shape is a hexagon. A 7-sided shape is called a heptagon. We're really used to seeing 8-sided shapes, which we call octagons. A 9-sided shape is called a nonagon. So it's almost like 9, but not quite. And then a 10-sided shape is called a decagon. So those are the names of shapes that we're going to want to know based on how many sides that they have. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to look at different shapes and different polygons, and we need to determine which are congruent. What is a congruent polygon? First thing that we need to understand. A congruent polygon have the same angles and sides. So same exact angles and same exact side lengths. All corresponding parts, so that means all the angles and all the sides are congruent. So remember, congruent means the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up with congruency statements, and we're going to determine, well, what matches up with what. And so a valid congruency statement must match all the corresponding angles and sides. So if I look at this one, I have A, B, C in triangle D, E, F. Do you see how A and B line up? Or A and D, B and E, and then C and F? Those all line up, and they all line up in this statement right here. So it says, identify the congruent parts given the congruency statement. So I have C, D, F in triangle F, G, H. So if you're not quite sure, something that might be helpful is to draw it out. Yes, these would be congruent. I can't obviously draw congruent things all the time without measuring and anything like that. So I have triangle C, D, E and triangle FGH. So there are my two congruent triangles. Well, I need to know which angle lines up with angle C. Well, angle C lines up with angle F. Angle D lines up with angle G. And angle E lines up with angle H. Now I have three sides here. I need to know side CD lines up with which other side? Well, that would be side GF or FG. The order does kind of matter when we're looking at it this way. Okay, then what I have is I need to know I have side DE. What side lines up with DE? Well, that would be GH. So I have side GH. Now I have side CE, so CE, that side would line up with FH. So what we're doing is we're just lining up things. We're seeing what matches up with what. Where does it match up? Now we're going to talk about two parallelograms. Well, what we're going to do instead of drawing the picture, based off of what we just did here, so we saw that C lined up with F. D lined up with G, E lined up with H. You can for sure go ahead and write out which sides line up with which, but what we're going to do is we're just going to line up the letters. So I want angle Q. Well, angle Q is my second letter. Well, what's my second letter, my next one? Well, that'd be X. So that lines up with angle X. Angle Z would line up with angle S. Because it's the fourth number the fourth letter in the in our set here, and S is the fourth number in our set there. Angle R lines up with angle Y then. So that's how those line up there. So that's what we're looking for. Now I want to know side QR. What does side QR line up with? So it's my two middle numbers or letters. That's going to line up with side XY. Then I have side YZ, my last two letters there, line up with side RS, my last two letters on my first one. Then I have PS, which is my first and last letter. Well, my first and last letter in my next one would be side WZ. So that's how you line that up without having to go through anything and draw out the pictures. So here's what we're going to do next. If we flip over to the next page, we are going to look at our congruent polygons here, supposedly. So this one here is a congruent polygon, or these are two polygons because they're two triangles. I can notice that this is a triangle and this is a triangle. On this front side, there shouldn't be a dot here, actually, noticing that. This is one whole side. It's a continuous thing. That doesn't work. This does. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at, given the information, do my sides line up? Does everything match up? And does it make sense? And then we're going to write a congruency statement if it is true. So I have two triangles here. I see just right off the bat, I have angle A is a 90-degree angle. Well, if I look at that, that would line up with angle C, which is a 90-degree angle. So that one's congruent. Are my other angles and sides? Well, AC is 3 meters and has a 53-degree angle measure. Well, DF is 3 meters and a 53-degree angle measure. These are all starting to line up. Well, my 4 meters line up and my 5 meters line up, which matches up with my 37 degrees. So everything lines up where I need it to. This is congruent to this. Angle D is congruent to angle C. 4 meters lines up with 4 meters, and 3 meters lines up with 3 meters, and angle E and B line up. So yes, these are congruent triangles, and how I write that is triangle ABC. So I need to watch my order here now. So ABC, 90, 37, 53. Line up with, that's congruent with triangle. Now my 90-degree would be my F. So it would be triangle F, go up my 4 meters to E, and down to the corner, which is D. So triangle ABC is congruent to triangle FED. Okay. So now that we know that, let's hop over and look at our trapezoids that we have going on here. So I need to look. So I have a 50-degree angle that's between 8 feet and 11 feet. Well, that's angle L for me. Well, I have angle M here, which is 50 feet, and that's between 8 feet and 11 feet. So that matches up. Is my 123, let's see, 123, and then I have 72 degrees. 72 degrees is between 11 feet and 5.5. Well, over here, this is between 11 feet and 5.5. All of my sides line up, which mean all of my angles are going to line up as well, because this is 3 feet and this is 3 feet. This is 11 feet, this is 11 feet. This is 8 feet, this is 8 feet. This is 5.5, so then this is going to be 5.5. That means all my angles are congruent as well. So yes, these are congruent trapezoids. So I have trapezoid. Now I have to be careful with my name. I'm going to start with my 50 degrees, go along my 8 feet. So I have trapezoid LOVE. So trapezoid love is congruent to trapezoid. It goes M. I go along my 8 feet because that's what I did first there. So that's congruent to trapezoid M H T A. The big thing is to make sure that your letters line up with your letters. Okay? Well, here's now what we're going to do. We're going to look at we're going to look at our two triangles on number 5. Well, on number 5 here, I notice already right off the bat, I have 10 centimeters, 10 centimeters, and 5 centimeters. 8 centimeters, 8 centimeters, and 4 centimeters. Well, those sides aren't congruent, so I automatically can tell these are not congruent polygons, or triangles too. Okay? So they're not congruent. Jordan says they're not congruent either, just in case you guys were wondering. Okay? On number 6 here, I have 2 more triangles. So I want you guys to pause the video and I want you guys to go through. Do you notice if these are congruent triangles? Use the information that we've seen on these 2 and what we've done on 5 and try to figure those out.
They ain't pausing nothing.
Jordan. Okay, now hopefully you paused and you didn't listen to Jordan. We have our angles here. Well, I noticed that knowing the angles informations that we have, I have 32 degrees and I have a vertical angle, so this one's going to also be 32 degrees. Well, I notice on my in between my 32 degrees and I have 17 inches and 10 inches. Well, I have 17 inches and 10 inches. Then I notice I have 8 inches. So all my sides are lining up. Okay? Since all my sides line up, that's going to mean all my angles are going to line up. So that one's going to be 105 degrees, and this one's going to be 43 degrees. Everything lines up. Everything's congruent. So, yep, these are congruent triangles. So I have to write my congruency statement now. So I have triangle. I'm going to start with my 32 degrees. So I have triangle J. I'm going to go along my 17 to G and then down to H. That's going to be congruent. The nice thing about this is that triangle J is going to have to also start on the other side. So I'm going to start with J, go along my 17 to L, and then over to my K. So triangle J, G, H is congruent to triangle J, L, K. Okay, so now that we've gone through those and we know about congruent triangles and polygons, we're going to figure out what angle measures do we have, what side lengths do we have, and we're going to do that based off of all of the information we know given from this one triangle. It's telling us they're congruent already, so we're not determining if they're congruent or not. We're going to match up our corners and our sides and show which ones line up correctly. Well, the one thing that I have to do before I can do that is I need to figure out what does angle D measure out to. So remember doing that, I'm going to take 95 plus 32 plus angle D, And how many degrees are in a triangle? Well, that'd be 180. So those things together come out to 180 degrees. Well, when I add those together and I subtract, I am going to get that angle D lines up to be 53 degrees, excuse me. So 53 degrees. So this angle right here is 53 degrees. So knowing that information, I need to figure out where that all goes on my other triangle right there. Okay? Well, looking at this, I noticed that my long side here is my longest side. Well, that'd be DE, which lines up with MP. DE is 17 meters, so MP is 17 meters, which is one of my things right here. PM or MP, that's going to be 17 meters. Now, that lines up with my other angle. If I notice, I go straight across here. Straight across from my 17, that gets me to 95 degrees. Well, that means if I go straight across, that's going to have to give me 95 degrees there. So angle N is 95 degrees. Now, knowing that other information, I am going to look here. So I see that my shortest side is 9 meters. Well, my shortest side right here is NP, so that has to be 9 meters. Because I have to obviously line up my sides with what they look like. So I have shortest side, longest side. Well, that only leaves me with on the other side, which is 14 meters. So side PN is 9 meters and side MN is 14 meters, which helps me figure out my other angles then, because in between the 17 meters and 14 meters, 17 meters and 14 meters is 32 degrees. So I can write 32 degrees there for angle M. In between my 9 meters and my 17 meters, 9 meters and 17 meters is my 53 degree angle. So that's how I figure out that's 53 degrees. Okay, so that's how we go through. It's a little bit complicated, but what you just need to do is you need to take your time. You need to make sure you match up your sides with your sides and everything like that. Okay, so now what we have left is we have a trapezoid and we have another set of triangles. Okay, so my trapezoid and my triangle here, we're going to focus on this guy first. So I notice that I have this teeny tiny little short guy here. Well, that's side XY. Well, my other teeny tiny little short side is right here. Okay, that is going to be 6 inches, that means then. Okay, so now what I have is I have side ED, which I didn't need because it's not listed on here, is 6 inches, so we just found one. That's okay. My long side then is 16 inches, so WZ is 16 inches. Well, that gives me my long side, which I'm going to have be 16 inches. So BC, which is listed, is 16 inches. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I notice that this angled side, my short little angled side, is 9 inches on this trapezoid. Well, that matches up with my short little angled side on this one. So XW is also going to be 9 inches. Well, that only leaves me with one side left on here, and that'd be 13 inches because that's the only one left on this one. So now I can go through and I can look at this. I wanted to know what WX was. Well, that was 9 inches long. And then I wanted to know what BE was, which I found out was 13 inches. So I lined up all my sides now and I have that all completed there. Okay, so it's kind of like a puzzle that we're doing a little bit of. Now what we're going to do is we are going to figure out our angles. So I noticed that I have this angle right here that's in between 9 inches and 16 inches is 75 degrees. So 9 inches and 16 inches, that's going to be 75 degrees. I noticed in between my 16 inches and my 13 inches, so my 16 and my 13, 16 and 13, that's going to give me this middle angle of 44 degrees. Okay, so I have that all lined up there. So now what we're going to be doing is we just have one angle left to find. Well, that's this little corner right here. And if we know anything about trapezoids, we know that this is a four-sided shape, and we know all quadrilaterals have to add up to be 360 degrees. So I'm going to take 136 degrees plus 44 degrees plus 75 degrees plus angle X, and that's going to equal 360. When I go ahead and do the math there, I add those two together, subtract that off of 360, that's going to give me 105 degrees. And that is between 9 and 6 inches, so between 9 and 6 inches is going to be 105 degrees on this side as well. So angle C we determined was 75 degrees. Angle Z, which is on this one, we determined was 44 degrees. And then angle X, which is on this one, by doing our math here, we determined is 105 degrees. Okay, so we have that figured out there on our trapezoid. So now the last thing that we have for notes today is we have number 9 here. So if you want to pause the video and try this one on your own, since our triangles, we're going to be able to go ahead and figure that one out and then come back and resume it and then see if you got it right. Okay, now that you've taken the time and you're now pressing play because you've gone through and you've done the problems unlike Jordan would have, you are going to go through and check. So I noticed this is a straight line here. Well, this straight line here makes congruent angles because I know that I have 48 degrees and I have 48 degrees because those are vertical angles. So I have 48 degrees there. Well, I also know that since this creates a straight line and goes out, that lines up with angle P right here to make a 90-degree angle. Well, this is super easy because now I can either find this angle or this angle because they're going to be the same because I have the last one to find. So I'm going to take 48 degrees plus 90 degrees plus angle F, and that's going to equal 180 degrees because that's how many degrees are in a triangle. Well, when I go through and add those, because I'm going to take 48 plus 90, so 90, 13, 138 plus angle F equals 180. I'm going to subtract off 138. And you're going to get that angle F is going to equal 42 degrees. That's what we did above here. I just didn't show those middle steps. So if you're confused what I was doing, that's what I was doing up above there. So this angle right here is 42 degrees, which also then gives me this angle is 42 degrees. Now that I know what all of my angles are, I can go ahead and figure out what my sides are. Well, I see that in between angle of 48 degrees is side 7 meters and 10.6 meters. Well, this side is my slanted side across from my 90-degree angle. So that means this one's going to be 10.6 meters, which leaves this one to be 7 meters. Well, then that only leaves my last side here, which is 8 meters. So now that I have everything labeled, I'm going to go ahead and figure out my sides and figure out all the things. So angle F we determined was 42 degrees. Angle P is 90 degrees. And then angle B is also 42 degrees. Side FN, so side FN we determined was 10.6 meters. NP we decided was, it tells me what NP is. That was 7 meters. And then PB we determined was 8 meters. So that is what we are doing today for Tuesday notes. If you guys have any questions, please just go ahead and message me and we can get that figured out. Okay, have a great rest of your snow day and I will see you guys later.